Welcome to the For the Love of the Game podcast with your hosts, Jefferson Belfort and Brian Hernandez. Brian, how are you doing?
Oh man, I'm pretty pumped today because if for the listeners and the viewers, if you're actually watching this on YouTube, you can see that we are in person today. This has not happened very often, but no, pretty excited. As you can see, our setup is pretty bootleg. We do not do this in person very often, but we wanted to make it a little bit special for this. And yeah, no, I'm pumped. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm pumped too. This seems like a time for a good handshake. As we begin our first in-person podcast. This feels good.
Yeah.
And it's always natural to have a conversation with you, so it's not a problem. But beyond that basketball stuff, we're about a week away from training camp. It feels phenomenal to start talking about that and start looking into which teams we're most interested in at this point. So I'm ready to go if you're ready to go.
I am ready to go. I wanted to ask you, this is off the cuff. Before we even started, we talked about last episode a little bit about NBA 2K, how we were excited about it and everything. Now that it's officially out, if you're, a week and a half, 2 weeks or so, how are you feeling about 2K, this new 2K23?
I'm feeling really good about it. As all of our fellow 2Kers out there, is grind season, trying to get those badges up, get that rating up, try to hit the park. We hit the park last week. That was pretty fun. Taking advantage of the rec as well. It's definitely a very dynamic game compared to the last couple games they've had in the last couple of years. So 1 weekend, I'll say, or 2 weeks in. 2 weeks in, I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it.
How would you rate it against all the other 2K so far?
2020 being probably the worst I've seen. I think this is like a 9 compared to 2020. 2020 was just not a good game.
Was it?
Didn't change it.
Yeah, even last year for current gen. I believe they did not change the game at all. It looked exactly the same. I didn't play current gen. I've just seen gameplays, and I have friends that are still on current gen. They hated it just because you buy a $60 game expecting a new thing, and it was literally the same exact thing as before. Again, for the listeners, I think we mentioned it last time. If anyone wants to play with us in 2K, please let us know. Put your gamer tag in the comments. We'll hit you up. Let's run some threes. Let's play some rec. Like Jeff was saying, we're playing the rec before. We got a dub, I believe. Did we get a dub? I don't remember.
I don't know if we got a dub, but you know what? For the pod, we'll say yes, we did. Yeah. But we showed our talent. We showed our talent.
Hey, we did what we were supposed to do. This is the 2K of role players right now, and so we did our role right now. But enough of 2K. I'm ready to get into the topics and everything.
All right, perfect. So our topics for today are going to start off with the Robert Sarver and the state of the Suns situation. Then we'll go into our sleeper teams for this season. As League Pass is a part of the inclusion of the pre-order of NBA 2K this year, we're going to have a lot of people joining in, watching on that, right? Yeah. So we'll highlight some of the few fun teams that we think should be given a watch this year. And then some bold predictions. How does that sound, Brian?
I'm pumped, man. In person, we got everything. Let's do it.
All right, perfect. So starting off with the Robert Sarver situation, it's kind of funny. I don't think funny is the best word, but it's kind of interesting that, when we started off this podcast, this was actually one of the first topics we hit, was learning about this information, learning about Robert Sarver's wife try to suppress information. And it took a full year for us to get a punishment set.
Yeah.
And there's many around the league that believe that the punishment was too light. What is your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I would personally say, well, I don't think it's like a hot take or anything like that, like you're saying, it was definitely too light. I think, was it Howard Beck or whatever? I think he's put it right of just, if anyone else in the NBA, outside of the NBA, in our normal day professional lives, if any of us actually did that, I think none of us would have a job. We'd all get fired. And I think Adam Silver kind of said, like, all right, there is some like protections for owners and everything, but this is just kind of like next level. You don't want this in the NBA. I wonder how, well, I think we've seen Chris Paul kind of go against Robert Sarver right now. I think we had, is it PayPal who sponsors the Phoenix Suns? And like they're saying they don't want to renew their patch deal to have their logo on the jersey if this actually continues for next season. I mean, if he continues being the owner, is another minority owner that's like, we do not want Robert Sarver here anymore. Let's get him out of here. He does not deserve to own this team anymore. It's pretty bad. Like some of the stuff, have you seen all the stuff that's been talked? Or at least that they found after the investigation?
Oh, so the reports into him.
Yes.
So like that is where a lot of the gripe you're seeing from a lot of the NBA figureheads. Like it's always important when the pillars of the NBA start saying stuff. In this case, once again, Chris Paul is in the middle of this, so him saying something, being vehement about the suspension, is a big move. This is a guy that served as the NBA PA's president for a chunk of his career. So he is a guiding presence in that sense. So when he speaks, people listen, right? Then LeBron, to be very open about his remarks as well, showed that, this is definitely being talked about in circles within the NBA about this is not enough. And then you mentioned ownership that is with that is with this guy is against this and believes that they need to move on from him. It's starting to look like there's going to be a moment where it's gonna reach its precipice, and there's going to be a decision to move on from him. I think it is very, very, I would say, ironic to flip the script on this one, how they did compared to what they did with Donald Sterling, because there's a lot of talk, or the reports show it as he said that he was saying these things in a lighter sense, right? In a very joking manner. And even if it wasn't a joking manner, think about how closely that is to the situation that happened with Donald Sterling, is that was caught on recording.
That was behind the scenes.
Exactly. So think about it. If they ever caught him under recording,
who knows?
Exactly. How we just can't measure intent because we don't hear video, right?
This is what he said in public, essentially.
Exactly. But for you mentioned that Howard Beck mentioned some stuff about this. Zach Lowe said on the NBA Today show is that for all of those jokes all of these things he said that he played off as a joke, and I'm paraphrasing, how about all those people that lost their jobs because of this, because of that? Was that a joke to them? It clearly was not. So I do think he should be punished further. The fact that his wife was willing to try to suppress information. It kind of reminds me of with the Sixers president of basketball operations, Colangelo, when he had the burner and it was making fun of Embiid.
Ooh, that was bad.
when he did that, you had his wife trying to suppress some information as well. So that always is a sign of guilt when you do that. So they're well aware of what they were doing. They're just trying to save face. And I think there is going to be a heavier punishment levied after, the public outcry is continued to pour in. Let's see if the team does anything to protest.
Yeah, I hope this isn't going to be one of those scenarios where like people are upset and then after a few weeks just completely forget about the situation, because Robert Sarver is going to be gone. He's not going to do anything with the team. You're not going to hear about him. I really hope it's not one of those that just like, oh, he's kind of disappeared for now. Let's forget until whenever his suspension's up. Yeah. I think he kind of needs to be like forced to sell the team. I'm sure Suns fans will love that. I think everyone is kind of rooting for that because, like you're saying, although they're saying it's jokes and all that, this isn't really like things that you joke about in the workplace, and especially when there's like that weird power dynamic and all that, where it's like he's the boss is making inappropriate jokes, so I have to laugh and this and that. Like it's like you're saying, people are losing their jobs and all. It's just so weird. There's no room for it. He really needs to go.
It's kind of crazy how well-rounded he was and how he insulted people. Exactly. Because he was able to hit xenophobia, sexism, and racism all in the workplace, and thought that it was just a joke, definitely is, I wouldn't say astonishing, but it's deeply rooted in how the structure of these businesses are, and if someone is able or willing to take light of things in that way, just think about what they say behind closed doors, like we said. Well, this technically was behind closed doors, but deeper. If this is what he sounds like when he's joking, I would love to hear what he sounds like when he's mad.
Yeah, and then I don't know, there's all the stuff like Adam Silver's been saying about like, oh, I know all the details and this and that, and this is the conclusion that we came to. Like, it's just weird. Like, no, these things aren't allowed. This shouldn't be an extra rule, or he shouldn't have protection because he is just solely the owner. I think something has to change there, but we'll see if Adam Silver actually changes his mind, because I will say he rarely ever misses, and a lot of people seem to be pretty upset, including players, which is extremely important. Players, sponsors, something's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's enough for all this Robert Sarver stuff. But do you want to move on to our next topic? So we talked a little bit about how NBA 2K came out. You got that special pre-order package. You get the league pass and everything. So, like Jeff was saying before, we kind of wanted to do something fun where, league pass, we're going to have access to more teams to be able to watch. So we wanted to do like a sleeper team to watch for that you should keep an eye on. And then also just like one of your fun teams to watch for. So, Jeff, I actually started off with the fun team. Who do you have as a fun team to watch on League Pass this season?
So I was torn, and I have like a three-headed horse, so I kind of want to hear yours first if you only have one.
Yeah, I only have one.
But if you only have one. Okay, so you go. Yeah. And I'll give you my three. Maybe there's an overlap.
Yes.
So it makes it a two-headed instead.
Yeah. I think I've been pretty consistent with mine of I'm going to go with the Detroit Pistons. And it's mainly just because of, like, we all know this team isn't good enough to really contend. They're not good enough to do anything too crazy, but they are just like a really fun team with the talent they have. You got Cade Cunningham, number 1 pick last season, played pretty spectacular during the season. I'm personally expecting like a pretty big jump from him coming into the season, especially having more help around him because like there was really no one on that team last season. They picked up Marvin Bagley Jr. or not Marvin Bagley Jr. Marvin Bagley III. Like you had so many conversations of like, please get this man out of Sacramento. Like he needs to go. He's been begging for years to be traded. He's finally off the team. Did he get a new contract? Do you remember?
I think he did get a new contract.
He did get a new contract. He's super nice. Sadiq Bey, we all know. I really enjoy Sadiq Bey a lot. You just drafted Jaden Ivey. Now, I will say, as a Knicks fan, it would have been very nice to have Jaden Ivey, especially after missing on Donovan Mitchell and everything. But, like, watching Jaden Ivey during the Summer League, that guy's nice. Like, he's pretty nice. It was very sad to see him, like, get injured during the Summer League because I think he probably would have been the biggest talk, in my opinion, for that Summer League. Super impressive. I have a 1-2 punch of him and Cade Cunningham. Pretty crazy. So yeah, the Pistons, the rest of their team is kind of solid. I'm interested, even as a Knicks fan still, to see Kevin Knox is on the team. He re-signed like a little contract. I really have no faith and hope that he can really do anything crazy. But I would like just to see him have at least some playing time because and pretty much any other team, I don't know if he would even warrant any playing time and make the rotation. Even on this team, I don't know if he makes the rotation. But I think the team is young, the team is fun. And even looking at it here, I think they have 3 players over the age of 25. You have Rodney Magruder. He's all right. He's something. You have Kelly Olynyk, who he's nice on a good team.
He's now a veteran.
But yeah, now he's a veteran. He's 31, which is actually kind of surprising. And then you have Kemba Walker, which most likely is probably a buyout. Hopefully, we'll actually see what happens there. But like the rest of that team, they're all under 25. So, fun team to watch. Who do you have?
So, interestingly enough, of course, that was one of my three-headed horses. But I will just add Duran.
Yes,
I have big dreams for Duran. That he'll be one of the dominant centers in this league at some point. He already has an NBA ready body. Been saying this for however months it has been since the draft, that he just has a body that's ready to be a bully essentially in the paint, get those rebounds and everything. So I won't go too hard on them, but the 2 other teams that I have considered are the Orlando Magics, for obvious reason of being able to get that first pick and being able to get Paolo Bencurra on their team. Adding in with Cole Anthony, I think he will take even more of a leap this year. Last year, he had some really stunning games. Being able to possibly bring back, and I'm blanking on his name, but he's a point guard as well. Number 1 overall pick in the past, Sixers.
Oh, Markelle Fultz.
Markelle Fultz.
There you go.
So before his injury, he did look pretty
he was
good
nice
on the Magics as well.
Yep.
Then you take a look at what they're doing with Franz Wagner.
Yeah,
he's
nice.
I think he's going to take a leap as well.
You see him in Eurobasket?
I have not.
In Eurobasket, he's been nice. He's been he's been one of the best players out there right now. So I forgot about Franz.
So that makes for a very, very competitive team. And then Mo Bamba's been looking really good in the last couple of seasons.
Better.
So I think they're just gonna be a team that that makes a lot of games interesting till the end. And then obviously, you know, because the lack of an experience, you're going to see them lose some of those games. But it will be a good teaching moment. But with the talent that Banchero has, the ceiling he has, I think he's going to win some of those games for them. And it's going to serve to be really good looking, those games, you know?
I think someone that you didn't mention that I'm actually pretty excited to see in, I believe, year 2, Jalen Suggs.
Oh, yeah.
Of like, I personally was very high on him coming out of college. Now, that was a pretty big miss on my part. Of like, because I remember at the time I was like, man, I take Jalen Suggs over Scotty Barnes any day. Which that's a pretty bad take. But, yeah, exactly. But no, Jalen Suggs, I want to see how he can do. I still have some hope and everything. But man, especially with like Paolo on the team now, like that team is gonna sneak some wins. They're gonna be a lot of fun to watch. So I think that's a very good pick. I'm curious though. So you said you had a 3-headed monster.
Yeah.
What was that third team?
That third team is obviously, and you know, I want to pull up mine, make sure.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's sadly that's this person is injured. Oh. But that third team would be the Oklahoma City Thunder. I still believe that they have enough of a team to make games interesting. Like I said, just like Orlando, to make them close games. I think they're going to be overlooked with the fact that Chet's going to be sitting out for this whole season.
Yep.
But they have all the pieces that you want on a young team, right?
Yeah.
Being able to have still Shea to rely on. Lou Dart has become more and more of a reliable player on that team. You look at, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the recent draft picks that they've had beyond.
Trey Man. Yeah, or this year they had the Australian guy that they traded the Knicks picks. Oh yeah, they had Josh Giddey.
Josh Giddey as well.
Yeah, Josh Giddey. They just drafted the 2 Jalen Williams.
Oh yeah,
both Jalen Williams and I can't pronounce the name. Oshman Jang, I believe. Which was like that was the 11th pick of this year. But no, they have so many young guys. It's pretty interesting to like they recently didn't they waive like Isaiah Roby? I was actually decently high on him. I think he's a solid player. So they just have so many young guys that like they can't keep them all.
Exactly.
So I'm very interested to see even just a side tangent of all this of like what they do going forward, because we all know they have so many picks. They have to consolidate them at some point. They have to make a move because they just have way too many. They can't roster all these picks. I wonder if they do a move or anything like that.
I think they're in a place where they can. I think that Josh Giddey is going to be someone that takes a leap again this year. Obviously, not rookie campaign for him. He looked very amazing. Him and Chet in Summer League looked amazing as well. So I think that they're going to realize that maybe having Shea is a redundancy in some sorts, not completely, but yeah, there has been a lot of talk that the Knicks could be next plan B, to get someone like Shea.
I prefer that.
So I understand moving him at this time. Maybe move him for what is the biggest question now. Maybe some guys that help round out the roster a little bit better, so that next year when you get Chet back, you have a couple guys that can have like a veteran presence and also carry their own load and help out the team. So I don't necessarily know who I would say on the Knicks I would do that with. Do you have any ideas of who you could possibly move in a trade like that?
So it makes it very tough because, like I was just mentioning, they have so many picks that they probably want to start consolidating. Well, if you trade with the Knicks, the main asset that they have is just picks, and when you have so many, the value to OKC to have another first round pick is not as high as it was for the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would imagine Obi Toppin is pretty one of the first people that would go. They have so many guards, so do they want to keep, or would they want Emmanuel quickly? A lot of their young guys, like I don't know how well they fit for OKC. So that's where that's why we haven't heard as much smoke over there for that. It's been very like the Knicks are gonna talk and they're gonna have a conversation. What does that actually look like? I don't know.
I thought of a place they could move him. That would be kind of interesting. Kind of make a dynamic duo. But I don't know if this is the direction this team wants to go. But it would be a good way to offload one of these contracts. And this team is already looking to add on picks as well. Is potentially the Jazz picking up a guy like Jordan Clarkson in that trade, move him for Shea. That brings a more consistent, proven scorer that has that veteran presence. That team does lack that veteran presence.
Yeah.
You bring a guy like Jordan Clarkson who's been in the trenches now with playoff series. He can speak to it. He can help them, guide them, lead them a little bit further. And for when Chet comes back, it becomes even better now because it helps with rounding out the team.
How old is Jordan Clarkson?
I believe he's like 31.
He is 30.
30. Okay.
Yeah, he just turned 30 in June. So I wonder, because to me, like Shea's probably one of the better young players out there. So, I mean, of course, there just had to be a lot more in that trade. At least to me, there would have to be. Yeah, I wonder how the Jazz feel about it, because if you think about it, like we're talking, the Jazz this whole time is Jazz want to tank. So to get another good young player, whether that means anything, at the same time, Shea has been on OKC all these years, and yet they've still been at the bottom of the league this entire time. So I wonder if that means anything.
Well, maybe that's where we finally get the Knicks into it, and it's a three-man trade. Those picks go to the picks that they were going to take originally for a Mitchell trade. Move them over to the Jazz, get Jordan Clarkson back. Well, I think they would have to split some of those picks that they send a few to OKC, send a few to Jazz, and then get back Shea. Jordan Clarkson goes to OKC. And maybe a little bit of a sprinkle of another pick or something like that, or Knicks move some rotational pieces as well in that pick. I think that's. I think we just played GM right now, and we made the trade that would move Shea to the Knicks. You know,
it definitely had to be something like that. I need to mess around with the trade machine, see how the numbers work out. But that's intriguing. I think we have to come back to that.
Definitely.
To this. I'd say so. Sleeper. So we did fun teams. Yeah. I wanted to do like a sleeper team because at the same time, as a fun team is cool, you know, you want to watch, but you also want to watch some wins. And so if you're a fan of a bad team like myself as the Knicks, you know, I want to see a win every once in a while. Who do you have as a sleeper team to watch for?
I don't know if people will naturally say this falls as a sleeper team, but I think it does. My pick is the New Orleans Pelicans.
I think it's a sleeper. I think it's a sleeper.
I think that they've done, you know, I've had my rants on David Griffin, so I guess I guess this is my time to take some of it back. Zion is going to come back. Obviously, that is already makes them 10 times better. Then you have Brandon Ingram really coming into his own. We saw that in the Suns series. You now have CJ McCollum on that team as well. This is a team that is rounding out to be a really, really exciting, fun, and team that is able to win. I say the reason why I still consider them a sleeper rather than a lock to be in the playoffs is there is always the chance with these guys. They have shown a penchant to be injured. Yeah. So I do keep that in mind and wonder if that's going to play a part into their season. And, finding some of those gems that they found in, and I'm slipping on his name. He was defensive, like, stalwart in the playoffs. Yes. Everybody knew his name during the playoffs, and now I can't remember his name.
Oh, my God. It's going to kill me. Pelicans.
But I'll continue with that is that I think that they're good enough.
Herb Jones.
There we go.
And you got Alvarado as well.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about Alvarado. But he's the type of player that's like pesky enough, like Pat Beverly in that sense, to ruffle feathers and get the job done. But he's, I would say, a lot more likable than him. But that's beyond the facts. But they start the season off. Their season off against the Brooklyn Nets. I think that's going to be a welcoming party for them. There's a good chance they could beat the Nets that game.
Is Zion ready for game one?
Apparently he is. So I could see them really having an interesting coming to welcome party to the season,
Is that in Brooklyn or
I believe it's in Brooklyn, yeah.
That's a League Pass game right there.
That is definitely a League Pass game. You guys gotta watch
that. Is that on ESPN? It has to be or something.
I think it's gonna be on. No, it's not gonna be on TNT because TNT has the first games of the week.
Got it.
That's the 18th. That game is on the 19th, so it may be on ESPN. You're probably right. I
really like this pick. I slept on them because I think it's very easy to forget that Zion was out the entire season. Yeah. And when Zion plays, it's pretty crazy. Like he's so good. And so the fact that the team was this good even just last season, that's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of Trey Murphy III as well. I think he's going to take a big step this season. Man, I'm just looking at the roster. Like, there's a lot of players that I like. They just drafted Dyson Daniels.
Oh yeah,
you got Devontae Graham still. Jackson Hayes. You got Hernan Gomez, who just won the World Cup, whatever it is at the
you mean Bo?
Oh, you got Bo. You got both of them. You got Bo and Billy. No, it's this team's pretty nice. So yeah, it's Bo's brother.
Oh, it's Bo's. Oh,
yeah, it's Bo's brother. Willie, it's written as, but it's pronounced Billy, I believe.
Okay, so it wasn't Juancho.
Juancho is the.
Okay.
Where is he back on the Celtics? He's somewhere.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was going off in.
He was going off as well.
Euro basketball.
Euro Cup, whatever. Euro basket. Yeah, whatever it is.
But last thing I'll add to that as well too is they have a really good one in their coach. Willie Green. Mm-hmm. The emotion you saw him have at the end of that series.
Yeah,
that was a hard fought series. And let's be honest, I don't think the Suns have what happened to them against the Mavs if the Pelicans don't soften them in the first one.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yeah, I think the Pelicans are a pretty nice pick right here. I think so. For mine, I'm gonna go with the Denver Nuggets. And so I've been talking about this entire time. I think even last season we were going crazy about the Nuggets if they got not DeJounte Murray, what's his Murray, but what's his first name? I'm blanking out.
Wait,
Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
Murray. And then Michael Porter Jr. Even though I was when he got
If
that
they came back at the end of the season.
if they came back at the end of the season, I was like, that team's gonna be crazy. Even though I remember last season as well, we talked about like Michael Porter Jr. and I'm like, I don't like that contract. His back always dies, and there we were. But the reason why I even say they're a sleeper team, I think most people recognize that they're very good. You have 2-time MVP Jokic on the team and everything. They just been over all these years. They just been. Their roster has been just riddled with injuries and unfortunate circumstances that they really haven't been competing at their best this entire time. And so, like I said, the reason why I think they're an underdog is because you look at the other teams in the West. You have the Warriors. You have even Phoenix. You have all these other teams, Memphis. All these guys that I think everyone thinks about first. Even the Clippers, who are supposed to get Kawhi back and everything. I think everyone puts those teams over the Denver Nuggets, and I think it is definitely something to keep an eye on. Of like that team, Jamal Murray back. I always kind of downplay people's performances when like during the bubble, because like we talk about the bubble, there's all this stuff. We had the season after as well, where like someone like Julius Randle played really well when there's no fans and all this other stuff. But still, I'm pretty high on Jamal Murray. Michael Porter Jr. is just a fantastic shooter, even though his back is not great. Still, you got Jokic, who you can never really like this team. That team is very nice. I'm very high on Bones Highland, who they drafted last season. Got Bruce Brown, who they just picked up. Like
that one hurts.
You got some pretty nice team. Or like, I will say, probably the worst pickup they had was DeAndre Jordan, who I don't know how this guy still has a job and everything. I like that pickup of Jeff Green. I will say, I'm a big fan of Jeff Green. They got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as well. Like Denver Nuggets.
And
no one's talking.
Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, when he joined, did mention about how in that 2020 season, when they were in the bubble, that he thought that they very well could have been the champions. Like they had the talent to beat them. It was just a few things that went differently that led to the Lakers being the ones that went to the finals rather than them. And it's the truth. It was a really close series. They were, before those injuries with Jamal and Michael Porter Jr., they were on a trajectory where it seemed like that's where they were heading. Let's just see what the Warriors has to say about that. Because they're not going to make that easy for both of the teams that we've mentioned. But I would love to see how both of them round up in this year, and definitely we'll be watching them on League Pass.
I think it's pretty funny that we both mentioned West Coast teams. Of like, because we've talked about it ad nauseum before of like how crazy the East is. So that's where it's like the West Coast teams are definitely some sleepers in there. I like your picks a lot.
I do. I like your pick as well.
Do you want to move on to our predictions?
Yes, I'm ready for predictions. So I have two. I'm just going to run through both of them. They're not too... They are bold predictions, but they do not need to be elaborated too much. The first one will be in this season, after a lackluster season, a season that this individual had to sit out, had a lot of trade rumors put on his name. He is constantly asked about the questions of loyalty, and I think that this season, a lot of people are counting them out. They very well could have been a sleeper team that I added to this list, but I think that this season, Damian Lillard will have as close or probably his best shot at running for that MVP um, uh, uh, MVP case this season. I think that he has the talent, obviously, to win it. It's about what is he going to do to make it happen.
Yeah.
I think there's the right amount of adversity he had to have dealt with in this season, this last season, with all the turmoil, the moving on from CJ, that he now needs to prove to everyone, I'm Damian Lillard. Like there's a reason why we call it Dame time, you know? And I think that he could very well be the one that is carrying the MVP at the end of this season. I could see him winning it in a similar fashion of like a Westbrook, where it was he's like a
center,
he's just at such a high level. Yeah. The team may not be at that same level, but because he's at such a high level, he willed them to a playoff spot. Yeah. And if he could crack like the sixth seed, kind of like what happened with Jokic this year, where they kind of weren't as great in the standings, but he willed them to making the playoffs. If he's able to do that, I think that he could be the one that carries the MVP at the end of the season. Second person for my bold predictions is someone that is actually he's had a meteoric rise in his career. He definitely is someone that a lot of people have a lot of faith in, our belief that he will get to that point. He's in the right system where I think that if you nourish his talents, he can very well be, out of all the prospects that are on their team, be the best one, head and shoulders. But I think this will be the year that he would take this leap. Now, him being on a team that just won a championship is why I think it is going to be this year. And that person is Jonathan Kuminga. I am picking to be the most improved player of this year. I think that he has the right amount of success that he's seen with his team to understand what is needed to star in your role, like is commonly said about most players on the Warriors. But he's just so much more talented than just his role that I believe he can take it to the next level. Kind of like in similar way that Jordan Poole take his talent to this level. But I think that he has the size, the physicality, the capabilities, and the potential that screams for me that he is more viable as the guy that will lead this new future for the Warriors rather than Jordan Poole, which I don't think Jordan Poole is bad.
Yeah,
I just don't think that, especially with his contract year coming up next year, Jordan Poole might not be a long-term plan because he may get more money somewhere else. Jonathan Kuminga is young enough where he can still prove his game, fit in his role, and prove to be a viable solution.
So, I think this is pretty funny. One, Jonathan Kuminga. I think the talent itself, I don't doubt that. Like I kind of like it. I'm even just thinking of like other players around the league, and I'm like, he's definitely one of the better players that is in the spotlight in order to win that award. I just, the reason why I kind of find it funny is because I think it was like a few weeks ago, there was reports of like, I don't know if, did you see the reports? I think it was Stephen A. Smith or someone was saying that he's like lacking discipline and all this other stuff, and he's like, yeah, so that's where I'm like, I wonder if that will have anything to do with it, of like, if he won't live up to his potential this season or whatever, because like I wonder as a rookie if you win a championship, and he played a couple minutes and all that stuff and he was a part of it. I wonder if that's like goes to his head at all, an ego thing, like I did it because most of these players are chasing a championship. He already did that his rookie year. Like I wonder if there's anything there. I won't ever know because you get to talk to him.
Yeah. So I always like to make comparisons, right?
Yeah.
So like my comparison of what this is, and I've always said how I see the Warriors as is just the next generation of what the Spurs were.
Yep.
And being able to cultivate talent, find the right talent. It feels, in my mind, like I said, the meteoric rise, and like if he blows up, it's as similar to the Kawhi Leonard story to me.
Yeah.
And he has the same dimensions, like, and he has the same abilities that needed to be unearthed. Correct, if we're being honest, but if you have the right set of people to teach that, it will work, And I think he is in the perfect situation where he can unearth that because, let's be honest, just like in a similar situation before Kawhi wound up taking that starter spot, there were some soft position starters before that. They tested out Richard Jefferson for a little bit. I can't even remember any of the other small forwards they were used. I think Tracy McGrady was there for like a short time. Like that obviously did not pan out as well. But they tried to see what they could put there. I understand there's the Wiggins side of it. I think he just got paid this year. Or is he up for?
I think
he's up for a contract next year.
Yeah.
So I think Wiggins may be another one that's easily could move on. He's rebuilt his name. He can show that, hey, maybe I could take this something else. Maybe he does stay, right? But I think that they're gearing for what the future is going to look like and preparing those guys who are going to be the future of this team. And I think that if given the opportunity, he will have that same type of rise or that same type of maturation that Kawhi had, like from seeing, like, think about how many times you saw Draymond speaking to him, giving him tutelage and stuff. Like, the fact that he's doing that lets you know they know what type of talent they have in their hands. That's the same things we saw with, even though it ended pretty bad, but the same type of tutelage you saw Tony Parker giving to Kawhi early in his career, Tim giving to Kawhi early in his career, obviously his coach, Greg Popovich was giving to him early in his career. And the way that they all speak about him, they speak glowingly about him. So I think that he has it in him. It's up to him. I hope he hears this. I hope he hears this, and I hope that this leads him to go for it.
No, I think that's and that's really good. I think it's important for these guys to have like to be able to watch and practice with the other people that are top of the league right now. So like even someone who not the top of the league, but is one of the best just players in the last couple years, or 10 years or whatever, the last decade, is like Draymond Green, of course, like you're saying, how impactful he has been on the court. Like it's cool to have that leadership for him. I'm excited to see if Jonathan Kuminga wins the most improved and everything. We'll see what happens. I want to comment on your MVP Dame. I 100% agree. I think Dame is very poised to have a like spectacular season. Last season, what was it? A shoulder injury that he had?
Yes, it was
that definitely made him perform worse than what he really is. What he really is. And like, so touching on the Dame stuff, like I said, I really think he's going to have a spectacular season. The reason why I thought it was just funny is because one of my predictions is actually, I think the Portland Trail Blazers are going to be worse than expected. Like, I think Dame has the potential, like you're saying, to do some pretty spectacular things and to win this team a lot of games that they probably shouldn't win. But that's where I'm even saying that they shouldn't win, just because I really don't think there's enough talent on this roster. Just even looking at it, like, it's really, once you pass Dame, Nurkic, who's always injured, you have Jeremy Grant, who the last couple of years really, surprisingly, I feel like everyone else around the NBA is pretty high on Jeremy Grant. I'm like lukewarm on Jeremy Grant. I don't really see it. He hasn't done anything that crazy. Look, when he was on Detroit, that team didn't really do anything, and I think he was injured a decent amount. After you really pass those guys, they just signed Gary Payton, who I do like, and I do kind of like him pairing up with Dame, similar to like him pairing up with Steph and all that. And then Anthony Simons. After that, what did I name, like 4 people? That team is pretty bare. That team is pretty bad. Yeah, they just drafted Shannon Sharp and everything. He was always supposed to be a project. I wonder how he actually is going to turn out, because he got injured in like the first 3 minutes of his summer league debut. Other than that, this team is pretty bad. I mean, you have Josh Hart, who actually was pretty solid last season, but you have Greg Brown, Chris Dunn, Elijah Hughes, Keon Johnson, who was okay. It was actually pretty nice in the summer league. Ben McLemore, Reggie Perry. Like, there's a bunch of names that there's a whole nothing. So I really
my boy Reggie Perry.
Just thinking about like we're talking about, the East is pretty spectacular and amazing right now. The West, there's a lot of pretty nice sleeper teams on there. To me, I think I don't think it'd be crazy if the Portland Trail Blazers missed the play. I think they're 9 or 10 right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the play. So that's where I thought it was funny. I did that you actually had Dame, so we both had 2 Portland stuff on there. Any thoughts before I move on to my next?
I hear you on that. I guess my question to that would be so what if he was able to will him to a 7-8 seed? Would that be enough for you to put him in consideration for MVP caliber?
No, so
with that premise that you assume that they're going to lose a lot.
Yeah, I think yes, just purely based off the fact, like I said, I don't think that team is good at all. So the fact, if he can bring them to a 7th or 8th seed, or if he can literally just make them miss the play-in the sense of they are the 6th seed, I think yes. I think he should 100% be in contention for MVP. He would have to have an insane season in order for that to actually happen. Yeah, I definitely be open to it. Which kind of goes on to my next one, because you had an MVP one. So for all listeners, we don't know what our predictions are. You had an MVP one. I also had an MVP one.
Ooh.
Is it bold? Ooh, probably not really. Not really. But I think it's the fact that I have that Luka Doncic is going to win the MVP. And it's more, like I said, I don't know if it's necessarily bold, but you have all these other guys. I think Dame is in a pretty decent position to do it. You have Jokic still. You have Giannis. You have all these other guys, Jason Tatum. Especially, hopefully he comes back stronger than he did look in the playoffs of the finals and everything. I think Luka, how he's looked in Eurobasket or whatever, coming into the season actually in shape this year versus all his other seasons where he's always tried to play into shape, similar to how James Harden's been doing it, which leads the Dallas Mavericks to not play as great. I think Luka seems to me pretty locked in this season, and I think he's just going to take it another level, which he's already at a super high level, but he's going to pretty much dominate the entire league. And I think, I think it's pretty, to me, it feels super safe that Luka MVP, I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I think that it definitely is one that we could, just hit. We don't have to hit the pause on it this year because, like you said, he's coming into the season already in shape because he's already playing now.
Yeah.
So this should lead to an early fast start for him. Let's see how everything folds in with the team now not having Jalen Brunson. I think that if he's able to make them still look as good as they were last year without Jalen Brunson, it only strengthen his case. So, you know what? I'm on your side with that, and
all right.
I hope you get that right.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, even though they lost Jalen Brunson, second best player and all that, there's a part of me, and to me that was just a terrible mismanagement, that they could have signed them for way less midway through the season, decided not to, lost out on him. Something inside me is just like, my gut feeling is, I don't think they're really going to miss a step without Jalen Brunson. It's just mainly because like I think Luka's just that guy, but I think my hottest take, and this is what I want to say for last. I had 3 here. My hottest take is that I believe the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be better and finish better with a better record than the Memphis Grizzlies. And I'm surprisingly, I would say, pretty low on Memphis this year. I feel like they've lost some pretty decent guys on their team. They really haven't made any huge upgrades.
Yeah. I think Melton is a big loss.
I think he's a huge loss. I think missing out on or Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to miss some time at the beginning of the season, correct? So, like, that's happening. They really haven't upgraded their roster a ton. It's just, to me, it's not the greatest. To me, they just kind of slightly got worse than last season. Like, nothing crazy's happened. And then you look at Minnesota, and that's where I'm just kind of that high on Minnesota, that I think this team is going to be, like, very nice. I think this team is pretty much built for the regular season. They're built to get a ton of wins and probably a second round exit in the playoffs or whatever. So I really do think what the Timberwolves are probably going to finish like 4th or 5th in the West. What do you think about?
No, I'm in my TikTok, I made it obvious.
Yes.
And I think that they're a top 4 seed in the West. I didn't shuffle who I think is going to be in that 4, but I agree. I think that there's a real sense. They gave them a fight in that first round, you know. So I really do think that adding Gobert to that roster, is Kyle Anderson still?
Kyle Anderson's on the Timberwolves now.
That's what I was remembering.
He's on the Timberwolves.
So now they not only they took one of their players, and now he's on the team. So it just speaks more to this team is looking really good, and a lot of people laughed off when Rudy Gobert said he's here to compete for championships, but I really don't think that that's as crazy as some people think. I'm sure people thought it was very funny when Jimmy Butler thought he could do that with the Heat when he first joined. And look what he's been able to consistently do for Miami. So I think that this is the perfect place. Ironically, that's the team. but I think this is the perfect situation for Gobert to reset, not have to deal with some of the issues he was dealing with. I think it was an omen that was carrying over him since COVID started, being on that team, having this fresh start, being able to retain the type of talents like Anthony Edwards, who's going to only get better. Cat is going to be able to play in a more traditional role that fits him, and he'll be able to fit that same type of AD role that he had when he won the championship. Rudy Gobert is the ultimate center. And then D'Lo just needs to be regular old D'Lo, and they're already a better team. Yes, they could fill out the team a little bit better, but everyone has a little bit of holes, and I don't think their holes are that much of a glaring issue that they won't look good and could easily be better than the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, so you talked about Rudy Gobert. I think even Karl-Anthony Towns, like, he's no slouch on defense. Like, that guy is very good. We're talking about how the Cavs look so nice with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Like, I don't think this is probably close to on par, if anything. Well, who would you?
I think it's better.
I think it might.
I think they're better.
Yeah,
because I think that Cat has MVP MVP level caliber of talent.
Yeah.
And then obviously I don't even think it's not even close.
Yeah.
Because now thinking about it, Rudy Gobert won like 3 or 4 defensive players of the year.
Rudy Gobert is a better Jared Allen.
Exactly. So and I think
I think that's that's actually pretty funny. Yeah, it's 100%. I'd rather have Cat and Rudy, but even Anthony Edwards is really nice. I think this team is nice. I will say I did choose the Timberwolves as my team for my career in 2K because I wanted to see how it would flow. So that's where I remember that slow-mo Kyle Anderson is on that team, and he's pretty nice. It's definitely a good time. That's what I got for my predictions. I did have a quick weekly tidbit that I just wanted to get your thoughts on. So actually, one, since we're on the conversation with the Timberwolves, what did you think of the quote that Karl-Anthony Towns is pretty much saying, like, he's one of the best offensive, best offensive players or best offensive big men, was it?
I think he said players.
Yeah, I think he said players.
He said that he's the best big man shooter before.
Yes.
I like that type of confidence coming from him. Why would you not want to have that type
But do you agree with that? Not just confidence-wise.
I think he is, but the problem is he plays in Minnesota, so a lot of people don't see it.
Yep.
Obviously, we are quite familiar with his game because he grew up in the same area as us, right? So we saw what he was able to do on the high school to collegiate to now NBA level. He had a variety of game that he wasn't able to show when he was in, like, from his scholastic years to his collegiate years. His scholastic years replicate more of what he's able to do in the NBA than what he was doing in collegiate years. Yeah, because Calipari had him in the post. like he made sure he knew you're staying in the post. Yeah. But now you see that he's able to do. He has such great versatility with both. Yeah. And I think there's not a lot of players that have that ability. Yeah. I'll put it as this. If this generation ever had someone that you could say is close to Tim Duncan, he could very well, if he's able to get to that championship level, be the guy that you could say is this generation's version of a Tim Duncan. But that's a big shoulders to climb on.
I mean, it's definitely at least as of right now, very different vibes of you have Karl-Anthony Towns, like, talking about best big man shooter, one of the best offensive players in the NBA. And then you have, like, Tim Duncan, who, like, would never talk and never gloat.
I guess I mean more like talent, but not in personality or anything. I just think that a Tim Duncan personality is kind of hard to have in this type of league now. But,
I mean, maybe Kawhi got right there.
Yeah, you're right. You are right. He never talks, so.
But no, I definitely don't think it's too crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think we would have to like list out all the best offensive players, but he, like you say, he plays in Minnesota, so he gets some disrespect on his name. I think very similar thing happened to like Donovan Mitchell, where like played in Utah, no one cared. Same, Rudy even said it, like you play in Utah, like no one cares what's happening there. There's a reason why, like these guys don't have as many national games because people don't really care a whole lot.
Yeah.
The last thing, real quick, weekly tidbit. Dennis Schroeder re-signed with the Lakers. He could have signed that giant bag a couple years ago.
$84 million.
$84 million he could have had. And he squandered what, like...
$82 million.
What do you think about the move? Do you think this moves the needle for the Lakers at all?
I don't know who it was. It was pretty hilarious when I saw it. Oh, actually, I know who it was. One of our good friends, Richter, loves this guy, Bill Simmons.
Yeah.
Bill Simmons made a tweet the other day. It's like, really love the move for Dennis Schroeder. Now I'm moving the Lakers from my predictions of 9th in the West to 9th in the West. So that's kind of how I feel about it. It doesn't move the needle, but it is a good addition, I guess. It is kind of mind-boggling because like I don't think they've addressed any of the things that they really needed to address.
Yeah.
They have a really weak wing presence. They did bring in some younger guys, but I don't think these are proven guys like Alani Walker. They brought on.
Yeah.
They also brought in. Who else did they bring in? Kendrick Nunn's.
Yeah.
I think supposed to be healthy this year.
Juan Toscano Anderson.
Yep.
Yeah. We've talked about it before. Like I think those moves that the Lakers have made this offseason have been a whole lot of nothing.
It just screams. it screams of a team that's not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like gonna be in the playoffs. That's the sad thing about it. And you're hoping that AD and LeBron could carry them, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and especially as the older LeBron gets, the less likely that is going to be happening. I will say, I'm a little bit higher, I feel like, than consensus on the Schroeder move. Just thinking about like how good he was with that team a couple years ago, where he was about to get an $84 million extension and all that. Like he definitely has some talent. Fell off a cliff completely. Looked pretty terrible in Boston. I wonder if he could bring some of that back. If he looks like the same player he was these last 2-3 years, whatever it is, then yeah, I think 100% this is a whole lot of nothing. If he can even bring it back to 75% what he was when he played with the Lakers before, I think it's a pretty nice move.
Yeah.
Maybe I move him from the 9th to like the 8th, but, or maybe the 7th. But I think it's like it's a nice move, like you say, at the end of the day. This is all I got for the weekly tidbit. We got basketball starting again soon. Super excited. Jeff, do you have anything you want to say before we call it an episode?
No. Like I said in the beginning, it feels amazing to be able to actually, do a live in-person podcast. Definitely. Yeah. I hope you guys could see this through the YouTube video. The chemistry is obviously always going to be there. We're boys in life. We're not just two guys that like basketball and then came together. We're boys in real life. So this was great. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate us like holding back on recording and then just going for this today. So Once again, I'm going to go in for the handshake. You know,
handshake.
It was a very successful one.
Yeah. And for all the listeners, I hope the audio sounds fine. I mean, it's a different setup than usual. So this is like the first time with this kind of setup. So please let us know if things are not up to par. But yeah, no, I definitely enjoy it. Give us a like. Subscribe on the YouTube, follow on all the podcasts, wherever you can find us. No, really a fun episode, and looking forward to actually watching some basketball very soon.
Definitely.
And this has been episode 42.
Peace.